Cheers. Cheers, cheers, cheers.
As we watch the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl here, we're going to talk a little sports.
I need a good Scooter's coffee right now.
Who doesn't, man? It looks
I just
good.
got I just gotta find one. It's close to Frisco, I guess. Jeez, Louie. Nothing local. Yes, man.
Yeah.
Your West Virginia Mountaineers they're hanging tough. First quarter, it's only 7-0. I know Memphis is driving, but it's fourth down, so we're all good. You're good, man. You're good.
It's not looking good here because going into this game, most folks thought we would have to, it had to be a high 30s type of thing to win. So we're not on pace for high 30s, Beach. We're on pace for about 6.
But look at the other way. Memphis is only on pace for 28.
That's true. Well, they're going to have a field goal here in a second, which is essentially 10 points in the first quarter. So more like 40.
Well, let's see. Could be blocked.
It could be blocked. It could be blocked and
missed.
returned for a touchdown. I mean,
There you go.
Yeah.
Positive thinking, my friend.
so
Positive
we'll see what
thinking.
happens here. But anyway, we're going to talk a little sports. One of the main topics that's really hot right now is the NIL and transfer portal and its effect on college football. And, we saw the backup quarterback who plays a lot for Penn State transfer out before the playoff. And, I know some Texas players did it and a couple of other players did it, but, a quarterback who's probably going to be an integral part of the Lions' run to a national championship, in their eyes, is out. So that's huge. And if this is the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future, that's a huge effect. Because who's to say that a team, a rival team of that team can't go and offer a big check to somebody on the team and say, hey, here's $500,000, man. Don't play in the bowl game. There was a movie about this a couple of years ago where a guy got bought off before the national championship game.
Oh, yeah?
I saw that.
No,
Yeah.
I can't remember.
But, who's to stop that kind of stuff from happening? I mean,
Well,
I don't know if there's that much of an impact player, that could be. I mean, what if Dylan Gabriel got offered $3 million by Georgia?
Oregon State.
By a Georgia alum to not play for Oregon, and he took it. Rich Rod.
You hit the nail. Yeah, Rich Rod. You hit the nail. There is no sheriff in town anymore. I think the NCAA is screwed up quite a bit. And I don't know, after letting the genie out of the bottle, can you do anything? Yeah, and you're right. I mean, there is a quarterback that left the college that neither one of us truly root for. But with that said, what happens if that quarterback, the starting quarterback, gets hurt that first game? Now what do you do? So to let players go into the transfer portal during bowl season, I think is slightly ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah, it has to do a lot with the semester. I mean, I know they're not student athletes anymore. They probably never were, but they definitely are not student athletes anymore. They're like pro players. But it has to do with the semester, most of the semesters start beginning of January. So if you're going to transfer to another school, if it's not going to be a total mockery, you want that kid to be able to move in and start the semester, right? So you can't wait until after the the championship game to open the portal.
but it also
So
does.
what's the happy medium here? I don't know. You got it?
Maybe you don't have. No, I don't. I mean, we can sit here and we can talk left and right about it. Should the transfer portal be then in November, before the season's end? I know there's another transfer portal that happens in the springtime. I know that teams who don't have bowl games or are in a quasi sort of Scooter Coffee Frisco Bowl, I mean, it's, and everybody's looking to get the best player possible. So that's why everybody's going out now. But it also does hurt. It's going to end up hurting some team down the road in the college football playoffs, and there is going to be a big gripe about it. Whether it is, Drew Allar getting hurt against SMU, and now they're going to their walk-on quarterback, and everybody's going to be screaming about it. It's going to happen. Or, like you said, does somebody pay a player not to play?
Not play. Yeah.
We're talking about the 1919 Black Sox. So, it's
not
it's
really,
one of
because it would be totally legal.
true, very true. But all that's up, and the NIL is just it's nuts. Yeah, it is the Wild West right now. I don't think there are a lot of guardrails to it, and players can just come and go. So it's almost like, and we can take Rich Rod, for example, the new WVU head coach. Is he going to, go in and try to not totally replace players? He's got, 60 scholarships already. He's got 20 available, probably, if not 25, Who does he bring in? Who doesn't he bring in? He obviously has a scheme offensively. Those players weren't recruited for that scheme, both offense and defensively. How many can adapt? How many won't be able to adapt and they'll move on? How quickly will he turn WV around, in today's world? And it's, it's there you go. See, now he's running the ball. Now I told you, he should be running the ball.
Yeah, the first time Rich Rod had the WVU job was when Don Nehlen retired, and so it was 2001, and none of this stuff was in place, of course.
Yep.
Transfers.
Yep.
If you transferred, you had to sit out a year, and so he had Adam Bednarik playing quarterback for WVU, who was a tough kid, Pennsylvania. His dad, his uncle's Chuck Bednar, and he didn't.
That's not the Bednar. That's not the Bednar that throws for the Pirates.
No, Bednarik.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You got to add 2 letters there, or 3 letters maybe. But anyway, yeah. So he didn't have the personnel. So his first year he went 3-8. And his second year he went 6-6 and got destroyed by Maryland in a Frisco type bowl. But it's totally different this time around because you could literally revamp your entire roster like basketball teams are doing it. They have a all new 18 kids or whatever. Yeah. You literally could have 60 new players on the team by next week, which is crazy to think, but it also makes it way more possible for him to field a competitive team next year.
If West Virginia has the money, though. West Virginia's got to have the money.
I mean, there's a boom, it's not going to last forever, but we've probably tripled our NIL, in the last month because, everybody's excited about it. So you got, not only do you have maybe guys like me and my friends giving, a little bit, but you have people that have a lot of money are giving a lot of money. They're going to demand a product immediately. So if he doesn't go, 8-4, 9-3 or whatever next year, they won't get that checkbook back out again. But I think right now, you probably have 1,000 people ready to write a check for whatever he says within reason. So
I like that at the end. Within reason.
Yeah. So I got to go for this. Push pushes.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's crazy, but they're going to have to live with it until this whole thing can get sorted out with the Big Ten and the SEC. It's a massive power play. They've got the power right now, so they're trying to exploit that. But they've got to figure out what they're going to do with the Purdues and the Northwesterns and the Vanderbilts of the world. You can't just say you're going to build a super conference and keep those teams, in the conference. So
the NAL is just, I don't know. I mean, I get it, and I'm not saying that some of these players should not be rewarded for the revenue that they bring in just as players themselves, and will they eventually become university employees? Who knows how that'll play out. But I just think that the NIL has just gone too nuts that you have so much turnover. I mean, there is no more development. It's going to be very rare that you'll be able to develop players sometimes. And you'll see that. I mean, coaches are leaving the college level to go to the NFL. You know, Charlie Partridge did it with the Panthers. He was a really good defensive line. He, from what I gather, what I've read, what you hear is that just didn't want to deal with the NIL position of working with kids and then they leave. You know, and then you're starting all over again, and year after year after year, that turnover takes a toll after a while because where's the success coming from? And even if you do, like we talking about earlier, somebody else is going to offer that kid more money. Now, the challenge that I see like that, and this goes back to my old Pittsburgh Steelers example, is that when you do well in a certain system, if you leave to go somewhere else just because of money, and it's not the same system that you're doing well in, you're not going to do well. You can't you can't do very well in a 3-4 and then go somewhere else to a 4-3 and do the same thing. It's just not there because it's all different types of schemes. You know, it's like they're saying Patrick Queen had a great year last year with Baltimore. Yeah, he did, but he also had another linebacker next to him was really good. This year he's doing okay because he's in a different situation with the Steelers. He got paid, he got his money, but is he having the year that he had? So that's part of the system, and I don't know if kids will realize that. You know, especially when you're talking about a quarterback or wide receivers, running backs, are they going to fit the system that's going to allow them to excel? Because will Ernie, the E-Man, take $1 million to leave where he's going to go somewhere else and play? But you know what, E-Man? For those 2 years you got $1 million apiece, you weren't as good as you were that first year, and now it hurts your draft stock. Or you don't get drafted. So, you know, I get it. I understand it. There's not a lot of guardrails to it, unfortunately, and I just don't know where it's going to leave us. And I agree with you 100% about the conferences. You know, what are you going to do with the Northwesterns, the Purdues, the Vanderbilts, the Mississippi States, to whatever? I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you do something like soccer? You know, where you drop down and you move up. Oh, I hear a dog.
They would have to. I mean, if they want to build super conferences, then you'd have to go to that model. You know,
makes sense.
If the big dogs are paranoid about somehow getting relegated, then you know that's crazy because the big dogs in soccer never get relegated.
Yeah, but for example, what do we talk about? What's relegated? You know, is Alabama 8-3 moved down?
No, it would just be the bottom three teams.
Well, 8-3 could be the bottom three teams. Again, it depends. Yeah, but if you look at it, you got to get rid of those lower tier teams. You know, who's to say a Memphis shouldn't be up there?
Well, they would have the opportunity to work their way up under that model.
Well, and I think that's the right model to do it instead of saying
you've got in England they have 8 different divisions that all have 20 teams in them. So, but the top 3 teams from this division move up to this, and the bottom 3 go down, and then so on and so forth until they get to the top division.
So, are you saying there's 4 conferences then? Or are you saying there's 2 conferences?
So, the Premier League is the top conference, and it has, I think, 16 teams in it. And then there's a division right below it called the Championship. That's an actual division. That has 16 teams in it. And then you have League 1, I think it is, 16 teams. League 2, 16 teams. League 3 or whatever, and so on and so forth. And the top 3 and the bottom 3, I'm sorry, the top, not the top 3 of the Premier League. They just go on
top 3 of the
Championship. Champions League. But the top 3 from the second division go up, and the bottom 3 go down. But they have a chance. Those bottom 3 have a chance to work their way back up.
Right, based on play.
Year. So you have a team. Right here's a really good example. Like Ryan Reynolds, the actor.
Yep.
Deadpool.
Yep.
Bought a team in England called Wrexham.
Yep.
And they had a famous TV show. And they were in the 4th or 5th division when he bought them. And now I think they're in the they're in the third division, and they have a chance to move up to the second division this year. So they're like, he bought this team that, is basically would be like buying Vanderbilt or, no, it's not a good example because they were already in the SEC. Memphis. He bought a team that's like Memphis.
Connecticut.
That's probably a better example. So Connecticut, and this team that he bought, Connecticut, is a couple of really good years away from being in the Premier League, being in the SEC, because they invested a shit ton of money, and they got a TV show, and they just built all this momentum towards it. So that's a really good example right there of what it could be like, for West Virginia, for Pitt, for Memphis, or whatever. But you'd never see, unless they, something ridiculous happen, you'd never see an Alabama or a Georgia or Ohio State be in the bottom 3 of a 16-team division.
Well, it depends on how good. Yeah, but it depends on how good the 16 teams are.
Well, it'd be just like the best. It would be like the best 8 teams from the SEC and the best 8 teams from the Big Ten, if they were playing in one division. So yeah, there's a hell of a lot of good teams, but you're talking about, even Alabama this year, who had a disastrous year by their standards, would have been in the upper division of that type of a setup. So,
I hear what you're saying, but I also think that if you're taking, and I hate to use that example, the top 8 teams of Big Ten and top 8 teams of SEC, they're going to be beating each other up. Michigan would be relegated. They'd be going down. They're 6-5. 6-5. They'd be going. They would have
stayed up. So you're only talking about the teams that underachieved, like Missouri or.
No, Missouri had a good year.
Okay, well that's not a good example then. Who came in. We'd have to look up the standings, but it would not be a team that had a winning record. So even Tennessee definitely not, but like in the SEC, like Vanderbilt, I think Vanderbilt would have even stayed up under that scenario.
I think you're
Kentucky.
wrong.
Kentucky maybe. You're talking about Kentucky maybe getting relegated. That's a good example.
That's a good example.
Yeah. Kentucky under that scenario would probably get relegated this year, and they'd have to fight their way back up.
So the
give
big
a shit because it's a basketball school.
All right, so if you're talking about the Big Ten, you're talking about the Ducks, Indiana, Penn State, Ohio State, Illinois, Iowa. Shit, you're right. Michigan would have been 7, and Minnesota would have been 8th.
Minnesota.
Okay, Rutgers would have been tied for them. So then what you're saying is Rutgers
is definitely relegated.
So you're saying Rutgers, Washington.
Be in the division.
Now listen to this now. Rutgers, Washington, USC, UCLA, Nebraska, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Northwestern Maryland, and Purdue. Boo-hoo. They would have all been relegated.
The problem is you had they wouldn't even been in the division.
I know.
Under this scenario, those teams would have been in the championship. They would have been in the second division. And the top 3 of that division.
Right. And then hang on. So then you got the SEC, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, Texas A&M, LSU, Ole Miss,
That's it
and
for
Missouri.
The Premier League.
No, you take Missouri away. So you're right. That's it. So Missouri would have went down, Florida, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Auburn, Kentucky, and Mississippi State.
Yeah, they would all be in the second division with the chance to move up.
And, but who else is in the second division? Like you can't exclude the ACC or the Big 12.
Yeah, again, this is totally hypothetical, but your more traditional powerhouses, I guess, would start in that division, like your Florida State, Miami. Name a couple other of the darlings. Clemson.
So Miami, Florida State, Clemson, or you're talking about, I don't know about Colorado. Who was in the Big 12 that played well? Kansas State? No.
There's no blue bloods.
Arizona State was in the championship against, not UNLV, was Boise State. You have to.
That would get pretty muddy there. To pick that next 16 teams.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you have to add. If you're saying 16 and you can't take 8 from Big Ten and 8 from the SEC, you got to take almost like 4, 4, and 4 and 4, or it's 5, 5, 5, 4 and 2, whatever that is, and then down below. But then again, here's the problem: is you can only schedule 10 games, and then you have playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a massive revamp. Of,
Yeah, it's a shift. It's a total
and that's
shift.
why they haven't done it. I mean, but that's the dilemma for the SEC and Big Ten. You want to basically keep all the toys, but you have this problem of this dead weight that was great up until now because it was guaranteed wins, for your big dogs, but you can't bring them along if you're gonna, build the super conference. So it's interesting. Anyway, let's take a break for a fictitious ad break here real quick, and we'll pick it right back up with our next topic.
Sounds awesome.